Being berated was a highlight of this year for me. I went to visit somebody who I had visited a few times and so does know me a bit, or at least did, because over the last year they in their minds have suffered and my hair's a bit longer, so they didn't exactly recognize me. Also, in their pain and confusion, they had gripped onto an idea just before I came that I, the rabbi, was visiting to somehow help them end their life, which I couldn't do. So when I arrived, they were bitterly disappointed and for several minutes shouted at me that I was a disgrace. My new longer hair did seem to play into the impression that I was a disgrace, or one of them, which he kept on calling me. Sitting there shouted at, I thought I probably wasn't a complete disgrace, but I did wonder if I might be one of them. Yet, this encounter stands out for me as I reflect back on the year, as do a few holidays with Leah, once where we ventured as far as Portobello Road 2 days running. In previous years, this might not have counted as a holiday at all. When it comes to highlights of this year, I've realized that even just praying, meditating, or concertedly reflecting have been some of the finest moments. A year and a half ago, when this began, I, like many of you, wondered what I might do with the extra time saved from a commute. I too thought I might write that book or study all those texts that I had not yet touched and still have not touched. When I look back at those highlights now, as we're called to be different by Yom Kippur, I'm not disappointed at such a year. Those highlights can teach what's important. There is in our Torah portion tomorrow and in our Torah an invitation to seek God's face, which may be very troubling to some of us as we understandably ask, how can God have a face? But the invitation is there. In the Torah reading that we will hear, Moses resists pushing on from Sinai straight to the promised land, instead insisting to the divine, I need to know that you're with me. And God says, Panai yelechu, my face will go before you. God will soon tell Moses that he will not be able to fully see his face at the same time as all the divine goodness. But this face seeking, this aspiration is still there, powerful and encouraging. The psalmist in Psalm 27 traditionally said at these times, and riffing on that encounter between God and Moses, but bringing it to us, says, Lacha amar libi bakshu panai. On your behalf, divine, my heart said, seek my face. So why all this face seeking? We might understand better now, after a year and a half of such isolation. But in fact, we're being taught that there's little more divine than a face, and nothing more important than seeking the presence of another. Seek presence. Come closer to another person, now and this year. Come closer to yourself, and come closer to the animating spirit of this world. Bakshu panai, seek my face, we're told. In Hebrew, the very word panai, the word for face, invites us to aspire to intimacy, closeness, and to appreciate mystery and interiority. The word for before in Hebrew, in time or space, lifnei, has the word for face in it. It essentially means to face. So to stand before is to orient towards the face. To seek another's face is to be right before them. Even when we admit during this day, I stand before you in shame and confusion, it's a great unburdening privilege to be so close, right in front of such kindness, in front of such a face. Rabbi Akiva concludes the Mishnaic teachings about this day 1800 years ago by declaring, Ashrechem, You must be happy, because look who you get to purify yourselves before, none other than the Holy Blessed One. We can search and be enlivened and reassured by such intimate proximity, while the Hebrew for before turns us to the face and to face the Word and the world. The word for inside in Hebrew is bifnim, again with face within it. So as we seek the face of another, we're alive to the mysteries within. Seek a face, your own, another's, the world's, and find ways to come closer to it, to stand before it, to wander inside. There are such ways. Indeed, face-seeking is the vital, non-productive shared business of this community, especially now. Seek the face of another in this community, volunteering to call or visit somebody. I'm so proud of the growth of volunteers in this area of synagogue life, in loving kindness. And such a visit is commanded because it may help, but also because it may change you. Coming close to such a presence as a vulnerable human can change you. We have found that when possible this year, there is nothing better than being together, in person, face to face. Seek your face and pray to be seen and not forgotten, and seek the face of the world in this service, in all our services, and in your own spiritual practice too. Become more open to yourself, to deep kindness and to possibility. Let us, in seeking presence, learn to be more present and to enjoy it. For the inviting faces next to us and the one before us and the one on us invite us into depth and encounter, into a single moment that might change us and stir up our worlds, rather than always stressing about the time, about the clock face. We can find in coming closer to another's face an expansiveness that resounds across time. Let us each seek the face and be open to finding it in ourselves and others. And in such face-seeking, we may find in ourselves no longer a heart of stone, but a heart of flesh, a new heart, a new spirit, a new breath. Cultivate openness and the ability to be moved now and throughout this year. A stiff upper lip may be needed very occasionally, but in the Torah it's our stiff-neckedness that is obstructive. And we are told now to even cut into our hearts. Don't keep calm and carry on, but step back and seek being, less marketable though it may be. Now is a time to look at the world and the year too, but we have greater hope of responding fully to the devastating situation in Afghanistan, or the terrible waves of anti-Semitism that we've seen, if we also tend to ourselves and ensure that we're each a feeling human being. Master Eckhart, the German religious teacher of the 14th century, complained that people would come to him and they would ask, "How can I pray?" or "What must I do?" But they omitted the most important question: how should I be? When this pandemic happened, what should I do with the extra time? Was not the right question. I want us each to now ask, how should I be? I have learnt that, of course, a couple days, even just walking to Portobello Road with another, are precious. Because little is more precious than time with someone you love. Some moments communing with prayer or breath can be most distinct. And yes, being berated was a highlight of my year, because at least I was being berated in person, face to face. We did also get through that awkward reintroduction And as can happen when two people search each other's face, we changed and said prayers for peace together. Lachar amar libi bakshu panai. For you, my heart said, seek my face. Seek presence, human and beyond, close and deeply kind, and become present now and this year. Shana Tova.